All right, everyone, welcome to another edition of the New Life Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Blakely, and I am pleased to be joined today by Tim Mittan, who is the District Director of SBA Nebraska, Small Business Administration.
Correct, yeah,
All
you
right.
got it all.
Very good, very good. We got it. It's kind of a mouthful. So, this episode is going to be a little bit different because we're not talking to a small business owner, but we're talking to someone who has helped many, many small business owners get started, start their business, and a lot of great expertise. And I think that it's valuable to take a step back from being inside of a business owner's mind and really learning all of the things that are out there to help small business owners that they may not know about. So
right, there are a lot of resources out there.
Absolutely. So we'll get into that, but first, Tim, I'm going to ask you. We ask all of our guests just to get to know you a little bit better.
Sure.
First off, what books are you reading or listening to?
Well, I haven't picked up a book in a little while, but the last book that I did pick up was called Inside Buddha's Mind.
Okay.
So it basically talks about the philosophy of Buddha and how and why he, thinks of the way he does.
Okay.
And because a lot of it, believe it or not, ties in with my background in economics, and it is actually very straightforward and forward thinking. So, which is very interesting.
Okay.
So, that's the last book that I actually picked up.
Got it. How about podcasts? Do you listen to many podcasts?
I do not listen to a lot of podcasts. Actually, when I'm in my car commuting, it's music.
Yeah.
I like my music more than anything. But I do have a podcast that I work with myself, and it's called Improv is Occasionally Hilarious.
Okay.
Because in my free time, I like to do improv. And
Okay.
I actually have a troupe called Occasionally Hilarious. So this podcast is an opportunity to meet people from the troupe and to hear a little bit about what we do when we perform.
That's awesome. Have you enjoyed it?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I've been doing improv. I started doing improv way back when, probably when you were little, maybe.
Yeah.
And but recently, I got back into it probably about 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
And do it fairly regularly. So
Okay.
in fact, I just did it last night.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And it's been good to, I guess, podcasts are a great medium because you can just, you can make it long form, and you can, people that have that interest but maybe don't know, I don't know, there's just so many different things that you can explore.
There are a lot of different ways you can look at podcasts. Some of them are storytelling, some are informative. And the reason why I started the improv podcast is simply for the fact that I get so many questions about it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people think of it as comedy.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's an expression. It's storytelling.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It tends to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
We try to make it on the hilarious side,
Mm-hmm.
but we only do that occasionally.
Right.
Thus the name.
Yeah.
So therefore, it basically is just being allowed to be creative. Most of the people that I work with in the improv arena are professionals with very, like, physicists, engineers, lawyers, financial advisors. So their jobs tend to lean toward one direction.
Yeah.
And the creativity allows for freedom.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And I see the same thing in entrepreneurs a lot of times.
I'm sure.
Is they lean toward one direction, but I want to see them have more creativity in what they do. It's fun.
I'd say that's probably, this podcast is that for me.
Mm-hmm.
I do insurance and
yeah.
that's, my trade,
Yeah,
but
sure.
this is kind of a way for me to, get in touch with my creative side, and
Sure.
I really enjoy it sitting down with people. So
Storytelling is all it is.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's get into it. So
Okay.
I took some time to do some research on the SBA website, and I was taken aback by all of the things that are out there that I never knew that I had access to, or that anyone has access to when it comes to the different stages of a small business.
Right.
And so I guess to take a step back from that, though, what is the purpose of the Small Business Administration?
So the Small Business Administration has been around for close to 60 years now, and what it is designed to do is create funding avenues or education or outreach for small business owners. We are designed to aid and counsel small businesses to the best of our ability.
Okay.
So the reason why it says to the best of our ability, or I can't remember the exact wording of it, but within interests or something like that, is the fact that we cannot control the economy, and we cannot control an entrepreneur.
Right.
And the decisions that they make.
Yeah.
Right? So we can say this may be the best direction for you to go, and here are some funding possibilities for you.
Yep.
But it's up to the business owner to make those decisions.
Yeah.
The Small Business Administration used to be a place where you would go and you could get counseling and you could get funding and you can do, have a class or something like that. But over the years, it has kind of evolved so that we rely more on resource partners.
Okay.
To be able to help us. So instead of doing the lending ourselves for the majority of our programs, we look at banks. And the banks are the ones that actually initiate the process for some of the loans. We also look at other resource partners, like in Nebraska, we have Center for Rural Affairs, or we have the Nebraska Nebraska Enterprise Fund.
Yep.
And we have Community Development Resources. These are all organizations that do essentially what we do, but we back them. So sometimes we give them funding, sometimes we give them certifications in order to do what they need to do. And in that way, what we do is we try to coordinate all the best efforts throughout the state, because there were a lot of people who were doing what we were trying to do, maybe better. So we just said, hey, let's partner with them and we can help them. And we also help business owners, some that have been in business for more than 3 years, try to become a contractor to the federal government because the federal government is the largest contractor in the country. So we try to prepare them to be able to get some of the contracts that the federal government is deploying.
Got it.
That's what we do.
Okay.
And we try to, like I said, work with those people who do things really well and steer our clients, or to business owners,
Sure.
to those people.
Yeah. And it's not just, I look at it and think, I've been in business for, over 10 years now. And it's like, it would have been nice to have some of these resources, because you can go on the website and you can see, if you're overwhelmed about how to write a business plan, there's resources there. There's resources about finances and what you need to expect, about, how we'll go about, finding insurance, all those things that when you're starting a business or maybe just thinking about it, you have all those resources there too. But it's not just for new business owners.
No.
I mean, someone that's been in business for a while that maybe just needs some help, maybe needs a new direction, it's there for them too.
Right. So for several businesses, they'll be in business for 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, something like that, and then they hit this cap. So it's about the $1 million cap. It's between that $1 to $3 to $5 million range, depending on the industry, where they can't grow anymore. It's just physically not possible for them to grow, because it has to have a significant amount of capital infusion in order for them to grow more. Which usually means more facilities, more employees, more access to product for creation, whatever. So that's also where we come in. And we we'll work with them through one of our partner organizations to get them to a point where they are ready for that next big step. So, and that is a substantial capital infusion.
And you can walk them through that process.
And we walk them through that process, and literally, in most cases, hold their hands. So we have an organization that we work with that has been around, and they're magnificent. In this state, we call it the Nebraska Business Development Center Network. So in the Nebraska NBDC, we have several organizations. There's Source Link that tells you, they give a listing of everything that's going on in the state. But one of the biggest assets in that is the PTAC group, which is the Procurement and Technical Assistance Corporation, and they help get them ready for contracting, which means the bigger the contract that comes in, the more capital that's coming in, that means allow them to grow. But we also work with the SBDC, which is the Small Business Development Centers. And we have several of those throughout the state, and people can go in there and they will help them get ready to get funding.
Okay,
And that is what they are paid to do by the SBA.
got it. Where are those locations in Nebraska?
The main locations are Omaha,
Okay,
Lincoln, we have one in McCook, Kearney, Scottsbluff, and Chadron are the
Okay.
big ones. We have a couple of other smaller offices elsewhere, but those are the big ones.
those are the big ones.
Yeah,
Okay,
and those people, oh, the other thing that I need to point out is the fact that all of our services are free.
awesome.
So they're, it's federal government paid, so therefore, we do not charge you. If you go to a bank and you get a loan, there may be fees involved.
Sure.
Those
Yep.
fees belong to the bank, and they need to get paid for what they do. We're not gonna fault them for that, all right? And if you do take on one of our loans, because of the percentage that we are guaranteeing and because of the interest rate that you may get, there will probably be an annual fee that goes along with that loan as well, right? But anything that we do with counseling, anything that we do with training, anything we do with prep in order to get you ready for lending is all free.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
So I've even seen, and I want to talk a little bit more about the funding, the funds that are available, the different types, but I see on there, I mean, there's so many things on there. You really just have to go check out the website, but
Yeah.
even if you're looking to buy a business, sell your business, all those types of things, if you're looking for funding for that, it's all on there. So again,
SBA.gov
yep,
is the main one. You can find our district if you, SBA.gov/Nebraska. You'll find our site and you'll find some of our resources, but if you just do an SBA.gov, you get all of the general resources. Now, these resources are available all across the nation.
yep,
Every single state or district has their ability to help within an area. So our district happens to be the entire state of Nebraska.
okay,
So Texas is broken up, Florida's broken up, New York's broken up, California's broken up. So we have the entire state.
got it.
So,
And we'll have a link in the show notes
yeah.
for the website, so you can go check it out. So there's just a ton of great research. So talk about funding. You talked about going to a bank, you talked, there's SBA, there's an opportunity there.
Right.
What other funding as far as, grants, what else is out there that people can take advantage of?
So I would like to put a rest to a myth that's
Okay.
out there, that there are grants to start businesses. There is no such thing.
Okay.
There hasn't been such a thing for years. So if you hear anything about a grant to start a business, it's probably through some private firm, and there is no such thing as free anything.
Got it.
So if you hear about a grant to start a business and it's free money, I would run, really,
Yeah,
because it's probably not safe to be part of that.
it's good to know.
In my history, you do not start a business for free. You have to be willing to put your own skin in the game. There's not a lender out there that's gonna say, here's $50,000. Oh, and I don't need any collateral and I don't want you to put any money in.
Right.
So we believe in you. That's never gonna happen either.
Right.
You have to be willing to, place a bet on yourself, basically. If you're not willing to put money in on your own venture, then why would anybody else?
Right.
So you have to believe in yourself just as much as having somebody else believe in you.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get the free money thing out of the way.
Okay.
It's not there.
Good to know.
The other thing is that there are different types of funding though. So you can go to a bank and you can get a traditional loan. You can get what's called a 7A or a 504.
Okay.
So those are two very big loans. A 7A loan is for general operating, for growth. If you are looking to buy a building and you need either some money to help with that or to help finance it, there's a lot of rules that go along with that, and I don't want to get into all of them now.
Sure.
But if you talk to a banker, they'll walk you through all of it.
Right.
Okay. Then there's also the 504 loan, which is the big loan. It's the $5 million loans.
Okay.
Up to, I think it's $500,000, $500,000 to $5 million.
Okay.
That's if you're going to build
Right.
a building. If you need to buy a very large piece of equipment, like you have a factory and you need a new processor or something, that costs $1.5 million.
Businesses that are maybe looking to take that next step.
The next step,
Okay.
they do the 504s.
Okay.
And we have 2 organizations in the state that help process those. You start with your bank, and then they'll go to NEDCO, which is the Nebraska Economic Development Corporation, and CDR, Community Development Resources.
Okay.
So all of this information's on the website.
Got it.
All right. So those are the big guys, and those are probably for people who have been in business for 3 to 5, maybe 10 years.
Got it.
And are growing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're first starting out, which is the majority of the people that we get, you're going to probably go to one of our micro lenders, and the micro lender will give you anywhere from $1,000 to 25 or maybe 50,000. I think 50,000 is a cap for most of them. In my history, most people in launching a business don't need more than $50,000 to get started.
Mm-hmm.
Micro lending can happen at a lower interest rate. It is usually taken on by that company, and it's not part of SBA, but they work with us. So you're probably going to go through some of our training, or you're going to work with SCORE, or you're going to work to get to the point where you can take on more funding.
So is there, let's say I come to SBA and I say, hey, can you help me out?
Mm-hmm.
If you say, okay, here's one of our micro lenders,
Mm-hmm.
is there an advantage of working with SBA where you, for lack of a better term, you get their the small business gets the SBA blessing to the banker, where there's a little bit of
So kind of yes. So what it is obviously we don't guarantee any business that's going to make it. But the fact is that if you're working through our processes, that means that you're very interested in trying to succeed.
Right.
So if you work with one of our partners, let's say it's Nebraska Enterprise Fund,
Mm-hmm.
and you go and talk to Jim and you work with him, you get a small microloan to get going, and then you go back to him and you go through some sort of other program that he's got going,
Mm-hmm.
and you continue to grow. By the time you hit year 3 or 4 and you come to us and say, hey, I want to buy a building now, I've grown enough, I want to buy a building. What we do is we'll send you to a bank and we'll say, pick your bank, these are all of our SBA friendly lenders, and they'll come back and say, what SBA services have they used prior?
Mm-hmm.
And we can say, oh, well, he went to Jim. Well, he went to SCORE. Well, he went here and he did this. He went through SBD or SBDC or PTAC.
Right.
And he or she then is like, oh, okay. Well, they've come through a process. So are they a little more favorable? Yeah, they are.
You've got a track record too.
You have a track record with us.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that you're perfect business. It doesn't mean that you're 100% guaranteeable, anything like that. But what it means is that you have taken the time and the effort to work through some of our programs that shows that you are really, truly trying to be a better business owner.
Yeah. And I remember doing that, going in to get a loan when I started my business. You kind of go in with what you think they may want when you're talking to a bank. I mean, I was going in with demographic info and opportunities and things like that, but still going into it blind, not really knowing what I thought I maybe knew what they wanted, but coming to you guys and saying, okay, here's how we're going to prepare for this first micro loan, and then going through that, the amount of time that's saved, and just you're not wasting time on things that aren't important.
Right.
You're putting your energy towards, okay, here's what they're going to want, here's the process.
As a business owner, and having taught classes and coached for so many years, entrepreneurs have a vision as to what they believe is important. And as somebody who did the assessment, yeah, I want to know why you wanted to get into this business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need the history. I just want to know why.
Right.
I also want to know if you know who your target market is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really truly know who they are, how are you going to market to them?
Right.
Because that's the only way you're going to make money, is being able to get the information out about you to them.
Yep.
So it's never blind, it's never everyone, and it's, I think social media will work.
Right.
Well, why will it work? Why is that good for you? So knowing those things are great, but the hardest part for small business owners to work on and to understand are the projections.
Yeah.
Bankers want to know numbers. How much money are you going to make? So yeah, you know all of this stuff, and you do have a background in it, or you have an education in it, or you're bringing it from, you're trying to, do something that your father used to do and you liked it, whatever, it doesn't matter that at that point. What matters is how much money are you gonna make? You know, how much money are you gonna put into marketing in order to get people into the door or on the website or to call you to say, hey, come to my house and fix.
Yeah.
You know, that's what matters. And so our resource partners are the people who are skilled in that. And they will help you create the things that you need in order to talk to a banker,
Yeah.
or a lender, or you know, even if you wanted to go for crowdfunding. You know, let's say you didn't want to go traditional.
Yeah, I saw that option on the website.
Yeah, let's say you don't want to go traditional. Let's say you want to go crowdfunding, all right? You have to know what you're getting into when
Sure.
you do crowdfunding.
Yeah.
You also have to know if you're doing debt or equity. Those are two very different things. Debt financing means you're going to pay it back. Equity means you're giving up part of your company to these people.
Right.
Forever, possibly, or for just a short period of time, depending on what you sign up for.
Right.
So knowledge is key in that. But still, you have to know.
Sure.
You do not go into crowdfunding and say, hey, you know, I want to start a food truck. Great. What kind? How much money are you going to make? They still want to know everything.
Yeah.
It's not one of those, I'm really good at, you know, frying eggs. Wonderful. You know, my family loves my biscuits. Great. Who's going to buy them?
Right. Doesn't mean you can make a business out of it.
Correct.
You may be able to.
You may be able to.
But it doesn't necessarily mean.
Yeah. So no matter what route of funding you go,
Yeah.
it's always good to talk to a counselor.
Right.
So even if you don't want to go for funding right away, so we have an organization that we work with called SCORE. And SCORE used to be an acronym for Service Corps Retired Executives, but we don't use that anymore because not all of the people that work with SCORE are retired, and we don't want them to be. We would like to have people who are volunteering. By the way, this is also a shameless plug for recruiting for SCORE.
Sure.
They are volunteers that do help small business owners, a lot of times just answering questions. Hey, I think I want to start a business. Great. What do you want to start?
Right.
That's where they begin. When you talk to Jim or anybody else through SBDC, you know, Tony or Spencer or anybody else, you're probably already going to be in business.
Yeah.
And going, and now you need help.
Okay.
Or you are at that, okay, I'm ready to launch.
Right.
This is my plan, this is what I'm gonna do, this is the plan I wrote, can you help me make it better? So that's where you are when you talk to one of them, is you're either at launch or have, and now you need to move forward.
Maybe fine tune some things.
Yes,
Okay.
there are a few organizations out there other than that. I mean, the community colleges,
Mhm.
you know, we work with them. They are great people. You know, Southeast Community College is where we're sitting right now. They have an entrepreneurship center where you can come in and ask those exact same questions.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to start a business. Central Community College has that, you know. Northeast Community College has all that.
Okay.
All right, and they also have, they work with our SCORE chapters as well. A lot of our community colleges work with SCORE in order to make sure that there is a place for them to go.
Okay.
Here in Lincoln, they go to Turbine Flats, which is a community of businesses that launch and then move on. It's kind of like an incubator, but not really. They don't have an end time frame. It's just a safe place for businesses to get going. You know, Matthew Wagner runs that one. He's got his own business in there, but he's got a nonprofit that runs that organization called
Okay.
Turbine Flats. So there are places where they go. In Omaha, their home is at the SBA. So in Northeast, their home is it's in Norfolk. It is at the Chamber, I believe.
Okay.
You know, so they're everywhere. The bad part is that we go as far west as Columbus, and that's about as far as our SCORE chapters go.
Okay.
So we have, I believe, 4 or 5 people in the Scotts Bluff area, and I think we have a couple in the McCook area that do SCORE counseling, but there's no organized chapters.
Got it. So if there's someone that's interested in that, they can just contact you. Maybe they
Yep.
want to start in Grand Island, North Platte, Kearney.
They can just contact me and I can get them to the right people
Okay.
to talk about how there's a process, obviously, to go with that. And but we do rely on volunteers for that.
Yeah.
To do that, because there are a lot of people out there that have business knowledge, and you don't have to have started a business
Sure.
to be part of that. You just have to be passionate about business. So we have lawyers.
Yep.
They don't own their own law firm. They're just a lawyer. And when I mean just a lawyer, it's like they've been a lawyer for a while, and all they want to do is teach people some of the legal aspects of it.
Yeah.
So we have franchising, we have accountants, we have, marketers that are not in their own business. They are those professions.
Got it.
So those are who we're looking for that.
Okay.
They help enhance everything. Again, free service.
Yep.
For business owners. There are so many resources out there that are for free.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of times when people, we're the federal government. I get that. Some of our processes take a while.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to go for funding, it can take 6 weeks.
Yeah.
To go through and get an SBA loan.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to go for a 504, the big dog loan, it can take 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
To get there, and depending on the process, because there's a definite process with that one, it could take 4 months to get that funding. So you can't be in a position where I have to have it tomorrow.
Right.
To work with us, generally. So.
Which you probably have to reel some entrepreneurs in a little bit, because if they're like most, it's let's go now, let's do this, let's get it going.
Right, and that's why sometimes the crowdfunding option isn't feasible for some, because it's like, I need money now.
Right.
Crowdfunding, you have to do a whole campaign, and that's going to take a while.
Yeah.
If you want to get a 7A loan, that's going to take a while.
Mm-hmm.
But the more money you need, the longer it's going to take.
Right.
And why not go for something that's a little more secure?
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is that, yes, we're trying to help small businesses, but when we're looking at our lenders who do this for us, what we're trying to do is help them.
Sure.
So when we say that a 7A loan is 50% guaranteed, it's not guaranteed for the small business owner. It's 50% guaranteed for the banker.
Right.
Which means that, if they happen to go belly up, we're going to pay you 50% of that back.
Yeah.
More than likely, you've gotten 10% from the small business owner, which means you're only on the hook for 40%, which means that they have the ability to take more risk then if they're not taking as much risk in lending.
Sure.
So that's how we help.
Got it.
So yes, we're there for the small business owner.
Yeah.
But what we're trying to do is provide services that help them more than us just saying, here's money.
You're the middleman for a lot of relationships, and you have to maintain both of those.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are. And that's what we do. So I'm only in this job 10 months. And I used to work with the SBA when I ran the Entrepreneurship Center at SEC, and I used to work with them when I ran the LA Small Business Development Center Network. It's actually how I got connected more with the SBA.
Yeah.
Is through that position. And the thing is that they do so, SBA does so many different things, and it wasn't until I got into this job that I realized what all we do.
Yeah.
Now, if we go back in time, if we go back 30 years, like I said, SBA used to do everything. We used to do all of our own loans. And so it was a processing center. It was like a bank. It's like, apparently, the Nebraska district had 50 employees at one point in time.
Wow.
And the majority of them were loan processors and analysts and collectors and all this other stuff. That's what they did. We have a staff of 6, including me now. So our job is to work with our partners to do, who work well with small business owners.
Right.
And we try to maintain that relationship.
Absolutely.
So that's what we do. And my job is to make sure all of the pieces still stay connected.
Sure.
Including all the way and up to senators and Congress and, at the federal level, and then we have the state senators. And so my job incorporates all of that.
Got it.
So we're not a political agency, but obviously we work for the federal government. So therefore, anything that happens at the federal level will and can impact us.
Got it. We've talked a lot about funding. What are some other common situations or questions that you get? And maybe funding is a big part of it. like is marketing something, is, employees, I don't know, overhead pricing, like what are common questions that you get?
Yes, we do get a lot of that. But honestly, and we do have training for all of those things that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
So anything from how to get a loan, how to start the process, to some of the best marketing techniques for you that are out there. We have specifically on how to work with the IRS.
Mm-hmm.
We don't tell you how to do your taxes, but working with the IRS as a small business owner can be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So we just had that one. We talk about, we work with veterans on how to start small businesses. Some of the benefits that are available to veterans in this state and in this country.
Yeah.
We work with them, we work with businesses on how to start contracting. So there is a very large federal bill that just got passed. It's the infrastructure bill. And all that money is now being dispersed to the states. Well, it's not coming through our agency, it's coming through Department of Transportation. We can help businesses get to that point. So a lot of the questions that we get, if we get one that's, I want to start a business, or I don't know, what's the best way to market, we'll send them to SCORE,
Mm-hmm.
or we'll send them to another partner organization that has that best information. Grow Nebraska, Janelle, she's phenomenal in all that. So we have the women's business centers. We have relationships out there for those questions.
Mm-hmm.
So if we get one, that's where they go.
Got it.
To the people who do those.
Got it.
So like I said, we're the coordinator. And if we start to get a lot of questions in a certain topic and we not sure who is doing the education on that, we create it. So we just got asked to create a presentation on disasters, emergency planning. In 2019, this state got inundated with flooding that had never happened in most people's lives.
Right.
On the rivers that most people would not have assumed would flood the way that they did.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was sudden. It's not like a tornado where it's like, oh, May, gotta watch out. It's like, this was March.
Yeah.
And
July too.
Yeah. We've had several floods that come through here, and it's just like, oh, for goodness sakes. So it's, what do you need to do to prepare for that?
Yeah.
So we just did a series of presentations on that.
Yeah.
So there's still, the funny thing is that, people forget. It's like, yeah, I know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you really?
Right. Yeah.
And obviously we just went through one of the largest disasters that could never have been predicted.
Yeah.
The pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how quick people forget about that. Because that came out of nowhere. There's nothing that you could do. And for many businesses and people in general, there was no control over the situation. There was, it was mandates and rules and regulations, and whether you were prepared or not, or just started your business or not, or whatever it was. But it'll be interesting to see, when you look at the financial side of it and just being prepared. Hopefully we don't forget too soon just what that did.
Well, I hope not. There are a lot of people who, let's get back to normal. Well, there is no normal anymore. There's a new normal, and that's another phrase that people are getting tired of. What's the new normal? It's like, well, it's business. Things have changed, right? The thing about the pandemic was it didn't happen because, like the flooding, you can map out where that happened.
Right.
And parts of us didn't get impacted by it.
Right.
It's like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. That's so sad. It's like, what are these people going to do? Oh, look at those cows. There's a lot of sympathy and empathy going on. Pandemic, worldwide. There are a lot of people who have no idea what that did. Well, they know what it did to supply chain, but they have no idea how supply chain works.
Right.
So therefore, all of a sudden, it's like, well, why can't I get my peanut butter? Because the jars that you put them in come from somewhere across the sea, and and those ships are out in the ocean.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I don't understand that. Okay, well, anyway.
Yeah.
It's a lot of education that has to happen in a very short amount of time.
Right.
To how everything works. And in order for people to fully understand it. And so hopefully, to your point, the hope is that through this process, they learned a few things about how things work, how some of their processes that they had in place prior didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
They were there for convenience, or because I love this one, that's the way we have always done it.
Yeah, it's a deadly phrase.
It is. It's like, well, now all of a sudden it's like, okay, people realize it's like, oh, I don't really need to have a restaurant open. I can actually make money selling it out of my door or out of a window and still do okay. Not like I did before, but I don't have the overhead. Now I get it. We lose employees that way. There's a lot of things that we lose. I don't know that. Doesn't mean that it has to stay that way, but hopefully they were able to see how things could be done differently. And allow them to be still a good entrepreneur and hopefully still a good boss. I mean, we had some businesses who had to shut down from time to time, or for that amount of time, but when they were able to go back and do their job, they could do it well. There were parts of this country that never shut down. And there were parts of the world that never shut down. And
I think for a business owner, that the pandemic is, it's interesting because I think there were, from a business standpoint, and even a consumer standpoint, there were a lot of things that changed that businesses are better for. And consumers learn to do things differently, and I think going forward, we're gonna be better for it. Changing the ways that it had always been done, and being able to do things, and find a way to do things differently. To take the time to really maybe analyze your business and figure out how you're gonna make it. I don't know.
So, well, because one of the hardest things that we have to do at the SBA is see businesses struggle. Because we can't fix everything. That is the most difficult thing that we have to do, is to see that. And we don't have a crystal ball. We do a lot of what other business owners do. We look at the past in order to predict the future. That's all you can do. But the other thing that we do is we stay up on what's going on as best we can. Obviously, we have rules and regulations that we have to follow through the federal government, but we really are there. We're called field operations. We are in the field working directly with small businesses. Now, after my explanation of it, it's like, yeah, we have all these partners that actually work with them, face to face more than anything, but we like to believe that it's our services that are helping to propel a lot of these resource organizations that are out there. And some of the funding that the federal government is providing that is helping with all of that. We may not be touching them specifically in some of our areas. In contracting, we work with them. I mean, it's face-to-face work. It's like you work only with the SBA if you want to work with the federal government to get to that point. And we have very good people who do that job, and they do it very well. It's a long process, but they can get there. The thing is that things have changed so much over the decades with the SBA that we really are the guardians. And that's kind of how we try to look at it. We're not all seeing or all knowing, but we try to make sure that we are there when businesses need us.
Absolutely. Tim, I know you gotta get going, you're a busy guy.
I do.
But I think it's important, where can people find out more about the SBA?
So they just need to go to sba.gov. That's the best place to go. And then in there you can find a list of all the districts, and is how they have it listed, or regions. And we're in the Kansas City region, but our district is Nebraska. We cover the entire state. We don't have anything excess outside of it. So you can go in there and you can find our page. If you have to call, we have one main number that you call. Leave a message, talk to somebody. If you want to talk to me, then you just let them know, and they transfer you to me. If you need to talk to an expert outside, we will let you know who you need to contact. And that's the easiest way. We also have emails. Please, drop us a line. We'll be happy to get you as much information as we possibly can.
I think it's for anybody that's listening to this that has started their business or is looking to start a business. Again, I was kind of taken aback by all of the information that's on the website, but there's I guess what the point that I want to drive home here is you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to start your business alone. There's so many resources out there and people that want to help you succeed and that can help you make your business the best it can be and give you different avenues. And so make sure that you go to the website and check it out.
One last thing I'm going to add
Yeah.
to that is that I have worked with small businesses for almost 20 years, and I know that there's a pride to this.
Yeah.
And wanting to succeed and be successful.
Do it on your own.
And do it on your own and provide
Yeah.
for. There is nothing wrong with asking for help.
No.
In any way, shape, or form. And we don't judge. You know, we don't see it as a weakness. In fact, we see it as, oh my God, thanks.
That's what you're here for.
That's what we're here for. This is why we are here. This organization wouldn't be around for 60 years if it wasn't needed.
Right.
And we believe that we know some of the best people in this state for you to work with.
Yeah.
Free. So just take a breath if you are having issues and know that there are people out there that can help you. And all you gotta do is pick up the phone.
Yep.
You don't have to go through it alone.
Right.
You really don't.
Absolutely.
So.
Yep. It's a good lesson. It's a good place to end. Tim, this has been great. I could sit here for 2 hours and talk to you about this stuff. I think it's important for business owners. I appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Brian. Appreciate it.